From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
Welcome to the Primetime Bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. Coming up, statistics on road accidents confirms George Walker Bush is one of 4 highways in Accra with the most casualties. President Mahama urges organized labor to be patient as government takes steps to respond to widespread public agitation over recent increase in utility tariffs. Economic and Organized Crimes Office confirms interrogation of persons indicted in Jeddah report. Food and Drugs Authority condemns publication of drugs list, describing it as an attempt to undermine its authority. And on the occasion of World Food Day, government is being asked to prioritize support for small-scale farmers who contribute between 60 and 80% of the country's food stock. We also have business, sports, showbiz and international news coming up. Now, 506 people died as a result of 3,719 motor accidents which occurred between July and September this year. According to the figures from the National Road Safety Commission, 5,640 vehicles were involved, and the Greater Accra was the region with the highest number of cases. The reports also identify the 4 main highways in Greater Accra, including the George Walker Bush Highway, which recorded the highest number of cases.
The 4 killer highways, according to the Commission, are the Ring Road, the Legon-Medina, Odoko and George Walker Bush, which stretches from Malam to the Tetekwashi interchange. Though there were no specific statistics for the number of accidents on just the George Walker Bush, also known as the N1, the Commission explains most of the cases reported at the airport, Tesano and Odoko police stations occurred there.
If you look at this, what is the road environment in these areas? Medina, Airport and Odoko. These are high-speed zones. Medina because they have partially opened the Shashi Pantan road, so the vehicles are speeding. Odoko because of the N1 and then the Kanishi Malam road. And then Airport, the motorway. So you see that the high-speed zones are in these areas. That's why we are recording these high cases.
23% of road crash victims were also found on public transport, while 42% were pedestrians who got knocked down and killed, highlighting the fact that you are more likely to be struck as a pedestrian than an occupant of a vehicle. The Greater Accra Regional Manager urged the media to help propagate the road safety message as people were being killed needlessly through these accidents.
5 pillars that is driving us to do our activities as far as the strategy is concerned. The first one is to promote safe use of public transport systems. Secondly, we want to implement an integrated speed management system or program in the country. As we realize, speeding or inappropriate speed is one of the, in fact, accounts for most of the cases of fatalities in the country. We want to promote greater responsibility and commitment from stakeholders. In fact, the road safety issue is not an issue that one person can tackle. National Road Safety Commission alone can do nothing alone. The media will have to play their role, the police will have to play their role, the DVL will have to play their role, the Ghana Education Service will have to play their role, district assemblies will have to play. Everybody must come on board, even you as individuals. You must even take responsibility for your own safety first.
He, however, added that an awareness drive started by the Commission will be intensified and sustained. The report also found out that 60% of the victims of road crash are aged 15 and 55 years, the core of the country's workforce. Justice Forson's report.
Government has been asked to prioritize support for small-scale women farmers who produce between 60 and 80% of the food Ghanaians consume to avert the threat of food insecurity. Key among the priorities is access to ready markets for farm produce, irrigation facilities, constant supply of fertilizers and seeds, and agricultural extension services. The call was made on World Food Day, which fell today.
October 16 every year is World Food Day. The day has been set aside by the United Nations for countries worldwide to join the global movement to end hunger. It is estimated that some 800 million people in Africa and Asia go to bed every day without food. Whilst Ghana has been identified as the fifth food security country in Africa and has made remarkable progress towards achieving Goal 1 of the MDGs, conditions in many rural communities where the bulk of the country's food is produced paints a rather gloomy picture for the next 5 years. Access to a ready market and the absence of good roads to transport food produce to the market centers to sell are still lacking. There are fears. Though the country may not experience any major food shortage anytime soon, food prices will become too expensive for the ordinary Ghanaian, especially for the rural poor who are already saddled with poverty.
We have infrastructure problems, that also is within the government's ability to provide. Access to good roads to market centers, good roads to the farm gate. It's on both for the buyer and the farmer. The farmer needs a good road to get to the market, and the buyer needs good road if he has to go to the farm gate to buy. So infrastructure is one of them, transport.
It is in this bid the International Relief and Development Organization, Oxfam, believes that to create lasting solutions to poverty, hunger and malnutrition, government must invest in rural farmers, particularly the poor rural woman farmer.
If you look at our statistics, about 5% of our people are food insecure. The majority of them are smallholders. And the type of investments that we are putting into smallholder agriculture is so small that it's not able to transform agriculture, particularly in rural areas. And so food crop farmers, smallholder farmers, particularly women, are missing out of this type of the progress that I earlier alluded to. And I do think that if we don't speed up the process of investing directly in transforming rural agriculture, much as Ghana is experiencing growth and progress, a lot of people, particularly in the rural areas, the smallholders, would miss out. They will even become poorer.
The National Food Buffer Stock Company is an agency set up by government to help effectively address the challenge of food shortage and provide farmers with a ready market for their produce. The company is currently looking at expanding its existing facilities, noting its current storage capacity is not enough to meet the demand from farmers.
If we cannot find adequate storage facilities, there is no point us taking on more than we can take, because then it means we won't have a place to store it. And that is a challenge, like I said. But of course, we are not just sitting and looking. We are doing everything possible to expand on our storage facilities to enable us to take as much as we can to save post-harvest losses in this country. Because we realize that it is important for our farmers, because it serves as a very disincentive for our farmers to produce only to find there is no market, and then, as a result of that, they experience a lot of post-harvest losses. So we should do well in expanding our storage facilities to try and avoid that problem.
This year's World Food Day is on the theme, Sustainable Food System, Food Security and Nutrition. An appeal is being made to civil society organizations and NGOs to partner in addressing the challenge of food insecurity and promote the well-being of the rural farmer.
The 1992 Republican Constitution makes specific demands on the state to protect and promote the rights of older persons, as well as to provide them with social assistance to enable them maintain a decent standard of living. Yet many old and vulnerable persons continue to suffer one form of abuse or another. The National Aging Policy should promote the rights of older persons. Yet 2 years since it was launched, the policy seems to have either been forgotten or has been rendered ineffective.
The National Aging Policy was approved by Cabinet in October 2010 and launched in December 2011 by the then Ministry of Employment and Social Welfare. The policy, among others, seeks to protect the rights of the aged, such as safety from harm, as well as coverage by the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program. One growing form of abuse against older persons, aside being branded as witches and wizards, is their tagging as mental patients in the homes and communities in which they live. With age also comes the related health challenges, often misconstrued to mean one form of spiritual illness or the other. According to the Ghana Health Service, 15% of all adults aged 60 years and over are said to be suffering from one form of mental disorder. As such, special care must be provided first because of their age and also because of their propensity to easily act irrationally. Instead, many are abandoned and are left to roam the street.
The world is full of stresses. So stress, neglect, most of them are neglected, they are maltreated. So those could lead to physical injuries as well as psychological problems. So at their age, we neglect them, we don't take care of them, we brand them. So this could account for the problems.
Looking at it, at the commemoration of this year's World Mental Health Day at Manchiagbona in Accra, a call was made to civil society and non-governmental organizations alike to help implement the national aging policy to help safeguard the interest of the aged.
It's time for the government to have the policy passed and to ensure that we are planning towards how we take care of our aged in the next few years. But the act that has been passed by Parliament, it's taken quite a while for the first steps in implementation to happen, which is a concern for all of us, because without the board, implementation cannot go on.
The 2010 census in Ghana indicates that there is evidence of an aging population. The proportion of persons 60 years and above rose from 4.6% in 1960 to 6.7% in 2010. This percentage means that early identification and treatment of mental disorders among the aged is key, as their contribution to the growth of the country cannot be overlooked.
The Food and Drugs Authority has condemned the publication of a supposed drugs list by some media houses, describing it as an attempt to undermine its authority. Speaking on the big story a few hours ago, Senior Regulatory Officer Kolesin Kofi says the authority is investigating what it calls a criminal act and will name and prosecute those involved by Friday.
We know that when it comes to pharmaceutical crime, people can go to whatever length they want to go to discredit the regulatory authority based on their own selfish interest, because research shows that pharmaceutical crime is very lucrative. And then we want to assure the public that we've never published any list. That list circulating in the media houses is not coming from the FDA. We know the perpetrators, and then very soon we'll let the public know of that.
I'm sorry.
And we want to assure the importers whose names have been mentioned there, which has to do with their products that are unregistered, as is being purported, that they should go to the full length, they should apply the law, they can sue the media houses for them to substantiate where they are getting the source of the story from. Because I can tell you for a fact that the Food and Drugs Authority have never, and I repeat, have never issued any list of such nature. Some people just want to blackmail the Food and Drugs Authority. If you remember, we know what is happening, and the fact that I work with the enforcement department, I'm telling you on authority, we know what is going on. What is happening is the criminal act, and we will make sure that the law has to work. The FDA is mandated by law to protect public health and safety. And we know what is going on. People are making attempts to discredit what the Food and Drugs Authority is doing. And we know that our activities that we are going now is trying to expose people who want to bring in substandard fake medicines, spurious medicines onto the Ghanaian market just to sell to ordinary Ghanaians. And when people realize that they cannot buy their way, they cannot buy officers of the Food and Drugs Authority, these are the kind of games that they want to play.
The Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, will soon commence full-scale investigations into the activities of waste management firm Zoom Lion, RLG Communications and other service providers under the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency. EOCO has meanwhile confirmed it has so far questioned 12 officials indicted in the JEDA investigative report and is holding some of them. President John Mahama first announced the interrogation yesterday. It forms part of recommendations by a ministerial committee which investigated allegations of corruption following a serialized report by Joy News over dubious contracts the State Employment Agency entered with some service providers. Executive Director of UOCO, Mote Akpaji, has told Joy News dockets for persons indicted in the report will soon be sent to the Attorney General's Department for prosecution, adding that the investigative team will leave no stone unturned. Meanwhile, Ms. Betty Mensah, one of the officials alleged of taking a bribe of 52,000 Ghana cedis to facilitate a contract, has made 3 appearances before UOCO. She is reported to have taken the money to facilitate the Youth in Film Making module, which is being managed by the Gollywood Film Academy for Jada. Now, 4 illegal small-scale miners died on the spot, whilst 3 others sustained serious injuries when they were trapped in a pit which caved in at Akango in the Nzema East District of the Western Region. The tragedy however seems to have been of very little deterrent effect on their colleagues, as illegal small-scale mining activities are said to have resumed close to the area where the first accident took place. William Benjamin Peters has filed this report from the Western Region.
The 7 were trapped at about 9 a.m. whilst working. Rescuers managed to pull all the 7, but 4, 2 males and 2 females, were already dead, whilst 3 were in critical condition and were rushed to the Ikwe hospital and have since been treated and discharged. The dead are 34-year-old Ebela, who hails from Jawi Waf, 19-year-old Enyama Kujo from Duale, 26-year-old Kwao Amangala from Akusunu, and 21-year-old Amoko from Ehumaziazo. What was left at the site were belongings of the illegal miners. In spite of the accident, some illegal small-scale miners were still at work. Akango is a farming community in the Nzema East municipality of the Western Region with a population of about 2,000. Majority of the community's population engage in galamsey despite its dangers. He insisted if galamsey is legalized and properly regulated, accidents can be minimized. Osei is the father of one of the illegal miners who died.
When we college, not to college Mulawi, and also said, obey a Jumakakra. The
municipal chief executive for Nzema East, James Ataka Krabedu, condemned illegal small-scale mining and insisted activities of illegal small-scale miners should be regulated.
We just want to compliment the effort of the president. It is our responsibility that we make sure these activities are stopped, or if they will register, then we can check their activities, where they will also pay taxes to the state so that we can regulate their activities. And in so doing, we will have revenue to support our IGF and other things in the municipality.
We have more news coming up, including the successful completion of maintenance work on the FPSO Kwame in Nkrumah. That's coming up later on in Business with Abigail Adomako Aintree. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, President John Mahama has urged organized labour to be patient and awaits the recommendations of a committee set up to review recent tariff hikes that have caused widespread public agitation. Speaking at the opening of the 4th Government Policy Fair here in Accra, he said government is working to achieve a balance between salaries and tariffs. Here's Joy News' Gifty Ando-Apia.
Recently, the issues of approved tariffs by PHAROAHS have been topical, and we have asked a technical team to consider the issue and make recommendations to government. I wish to take this opportunity to appeal to organized labour to allow the committee time and space to finish its work and present its report to government.
The policy fair exhibits almost all government agencies and invites questions as well as suggestions from people. This year, a sizable number of senior high school students and a section of civil society were mostly those who found their way to the conference center for the occasion, which was interspersed with cultural displays. Chairperson for the Council of State, Cecilia Johnson, said a special effort for specific targets of the population was necessary to achieve the desired result.
So I'd like to appeal to you organizers to target special groups, students, organized labor, agricultural unions, traditional rulers, religious organizations, all stakeholders. Let's go the extra mile to make a special appeal, invite them specially. Let's give them that attention, so that we have very good patronage.
President Mahama singled out constructive criticism of government policies as one of the major reasons for the policy fair. For the next couple of years, the president says privatization, economic transformation and diversification will dominate discussions at policy fairs. This, he says, will aim at providing stable and well-paid jobs.
There's been concern over our debt sustainability. Our current debt to GDP ratio is currently estimated at 49.3%. While there is strong need to borrow to satisfy high demand for infrastructural development, I wish to assure the country that we will keep our debt profile within reasonable limits. Prioritization is the name of the game. We will implement only the projects that have the greatest potential for transforming the lives of our people. We need to transform our economy and diversify it if we are to make the accelerated growth that we all desire. In the next 3 years, the policy fair will revolve around the number of sustainable jobs that we have been able to create. What Ghanaians need today are stable jobs that pay well and that they are happy to work at. Stable jobs that allow them to put their children in school, stable jobs that allow them to cover their health bills, stable jobs that make increases in utility tariffs inconsequential to them, and ultimately stable jobs in agriculture, industry and services that are the machinery for transforming our economy.
President Mahama inspected a couple of stands at the fair, including the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. For the fourth time, government is seeking to reach out to the people and to take their views for policy improvement. The logical question to ask is whether these policy fairs have made government policies any better, or the understanding of these policies by Ghanaians, better still by the ordinary Ghanaian. Gifty Andropia, Joy News Conference Center.
Now, the Jubilee partners have announced the successful completion of the maintenance work on the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, and according to a statement that's just coming, all key work scopes, including vessel inspections and cleaning, replacement of safety critical equipment, as well as pressure relief valve recertification identified for maintenance, were completed. It says production has restarted at 3 hours, or it started at 3 p.m. on Sunday, 29 September, and ramping up the world's superior production levels as of Monday, 7th October. It says the next shutdown maintenance will be held in the second half of 2014 in line with the partners' commitment to global maintenance and integrity standards used throughout the oil and gas industry. A full update on the performance of the Jubilee field will be given in Tullow PLC's interim management statement to be issued in November. Charles Daku, he's a general manager of Tullow Ghana Limited, said the lead operator of the Jubilee field said, and I quote, "We are delighted at the timely completion of the shutdown maintenance and the return to full production. We remain committed to regular maintenance as part of our operational culture and also setting a world-class standard for the industry." So the story has to do, or the release has to do, with the successful completion of maintenance works on the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, which necessitated a shutdown for some weeks. In other stories, the Ministry of Health is working on establishing a National Health Training Institutions Agency to coordinate and administer all health training in the country. The move is also to ensure mushrooming health and training institutions are monitored effectively. The number of health training institutions is said to have jumped from 25 to 110 in the last 8 years.
From about 25 training institutions in 2005, the number of health training institutions have steadily grown to 110, with 75 public and 35 private institutions. These schools together have about 30,000 students and absorb more than 12,000 each year. Though the Human Resource Department for the Health Directorate of the Health Ministry oversees these institutions, the workload is said to be beyond their capacity. Thus, the need for the mother agency.
Quite a lot of logistics involved. We have assets, we have buildings, we have tutors, we have management boards. Then you have to inject some financial resources into the management. We have award of certificates. So it has to be done professionally. So that is why we think that an agency with a council to manage it will be much appropriate. There's not going to be any additional engagement of personnel, because you already have the heads of the institutions. They are there.
The Health Training Institutions Agency, when established, will also aid in the training of more midwives to make effective the new policy which requires each community-based health planning services CHIPS compound to have a midwife.
So even though we need a minimum of about 10,000 midwives, we have just about 5,000, because annually we produce about 300, and we are looking at establishing no less than 25,000 CHIPS compounds in the country. And so we will have to fast track the training of more midwives. And you need a specialized structure to focus on it, handle these things, be able to coordinate the training and the quality, the standards of the human resources we train in the health sector.
Stakeholders in the health sector are meanwhile meeting to build consensus for the establishment of the new agency. The outcome of the meeting will, however, have to be forwarded to Parliament first for approval.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Health, Cheriaite, says she will ensure the payroll of all the units under her ministry is overhauled and cleansed of all ghost names that are being paid for no work done. This evening follows the discovery of about 450 potential ghost workers among some 700 nurses at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital who have been agitating for the salaries they say were delayed for several months.
There are people who manage the system. It's not the minister who is checking the payroll. So we want to ensure that there's efficiency in the system. We are going to, overhaul. We are going to, extensively study the payroll, and develop a better system. You see, it's not the number of students. It's about those who retire. You work with a system and you have your name at the Accountant General's Department on the payroll, your salary automatically goes to the bank. So when you retire, there must be a system that shows that these number of people, they have left the system. Some don't even retire, they just vacate their position. So we must clean the payroll regularly to ensure that such people who have retired, those who have left their jobs and other things, their names don't remain on the salary list.
Hello, welcome to Joy Business with me, Abigail Adomakuenchi. Now, government is expected to put before Parliament a Minerals Development Fund bill which will regulate how royalties from mineral resources are used. Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Alhaji Yusuf Hussaini tells Joy Business it is unacceptable that revenue accruing from mineral royalties for recurrent expenditure.
But we do agree with what you is saying. This is an increase that is.
Government itself is developing a law, a Minerals Development Fund law, to take care of royalties that are ceded to the subnational level. That law simply will benchmark and track revenues that go to those levels. So if, for instance, $1 million is transferred to the mining communities or areas where exploitation of mineral resources is taking place, it should be able to track the expenditure of the 100 million. The government has already developed policy guidelines on where the money can go. It is no longer acceptable for the District Assembly to use mineral royalties for the payment of salaries. The Minister of Finance has completed his comments on the law. The draft law has been sent to the Attorney General's office for them to do the final cleanup, and then we forward it to Parliament, to Cabinet for Cabinet approval, and thereafter to Parliament for Parliament to have a look at it. I'm sure when Parliament next reconvenes, by the time they go on recess, the law should be in Parliament.
Now, Ghana has signed an agreement with the German government to build the needed capacity to develop renewable energy sources in the country at a cost of 1.8 million euros. Director of Communications at the Energy Ministry, Edward Barr, who disclosed this to Joy News, said the project will help boost the country's power generation capacity.
Government is currently working to ensure that 10% of the country's energy sources are renewable. It therefore passed in 2011 the Renewable Energy Act A32, which clearly sets out the guidelines for the implementation of policies for developing renewable energy. But government, realizing the capacity needed to implement the act is lacking, approached the German government for support. The German government has, however, agreed to assist government with 1.8 million euros.
The capacity building is looking one at, for example, if you look at an organization like VRA, is to build their capacity to be able to see how they can lead that in terms of even generating plants, how they can bring in renewable energy through mini hydros, through solar, which they've already started, the Navrongo one, through wind and what have you. For ECG, how they would be able to accommodate the purchase of renewable energy as part of their energy mix, and how they can do that vis-a-vis the cost. Because at the end of the day, for the affordability is also very key. We are looking at Energy Commission in terms of, because that is supposed to be the regulator in the power sector, how they are able to regulate even operators in the particular renewable energy law. So it's just to build the various areas.
Edward Bauer also mentioned some renewable sources of energy government is currently pursuing.
Yeah, we are looking at not only solar, we are also looking at wind. In fact, indeed, you will realize the German government itself has been supporting VRA with a tune of about 22.8 million euro to develop a 12 million solar park that is being currently carried on by VRA. VRA is also targeting to, on the coastline, to develop at least 150 megawatts of wind power. In our own classification of renewable energy, we have put mini hydros as part of renewable energy. And as I speak to you now, feasibility study has been done and it's just being concluded now at the Palogu area.
The project will meanwhile be implemented through GIZ, a German corporation in Ghana.
The influx of foreign furniture is said to be running down the business of many local woodworkers. Members of the Woodworkers Association of Ghana in the Upper East region have therefore undergone a day's workshop aimed at improving the quality of their products as well as the entrepreneurial skills to help them beat the competition. Albert Sori reports from Bogatanga.
In all, 220 woodworkers, including carpenters and joiners from across the region, participated in the workshop. National General Secretary for the Association, Abdullah bin Abubakar, speaking to Joy News, said keen competition in the furniture market as a result of importation of furniture from Asia is the bane of the local woodworkers.
We are being challenged by the importation of furniture from Asian countries and some parts of the world. They are able to sell well despite the fact that their prices are sometimes about 4 or 5 times what we price. So we have identified this as a weakness that is hindering the progress of our industry.
Albert Sori's report.
Away from that, the Digital Broadcasting Migration Committee under the Ministry of Communications has been visiting media houses in Accra to dialogue with them on the mandatory digital migration regime slated for June 2015. Minister of Communications Dr. Omane Boamah and his team, made up of industrial players including GEBA, the NCA, GBC and the Ministry of Finance, called on the management of Multi-TV, the digital television division of the Multimedia Group.
This is a working visit by the Digital Broadcasting Migration Committee that has been working at the Ministry of Communications to ensure that by December 2014 we would have migrated from analog broadcasting to digital broadcasting. If the International Telecommunications Union is going to cease the protection of analog broadcasting, what it means is that the broadcasting companies that are in the analog mode will be having a lot of destructive interference. Outfits like Multi-TV and the rest may not experience it as much as those who are operating in the largely analog mode. But we want to carry every media house on board. Even though the National Media Commission and the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association are represented on the Digital Broadcasting Migration Committee, we felt that there are peculiar needs of the individual broadcasting houses. And that is how come we have been to Multimedia this afternoon to have this interaction with you.
Dr. Omane Boamah added he was aware some stakeholders are worried about the implications of the migration to the industry players, bearing in mind that it opens the floodgates for companies which have already invested heavily as well as those with very little or no investments to reap the same benefits.
In one breath, it's not a disadvantage because you are all going to have access to all the people around the country. So where is the disadvantage? But in another sense, these new people who are coming in to set up the television stations are being given advantages that those who began it some 5 years or 6 years ago did not have.
Management of Multi-TV were, however, not worried about this concern, as they felt compelling content will be what would ultimately be the differentiating factor.
As you all know, with the digital platform, content becomes king. It's no longer transmission because all of us, from when it is launched, will be starting from the same starting block. So somebody can come in probably 2 days before the launch and will be the same as someone who's been around for the past 19, 20, 25 years and all of that. So content is king. So that's what our focus is on. And as we have 10 different channels, that gives us some sort of leverage in terms of, even if we want to consolidate content and all of that, it will give us some leverage that we plan to ride on.
Dr. Omane Boamah has thrown a challenge to all stakeholders to dialogue on the way forward on infrastructural ownership and control issues. The minister and his team were later taken on a tour of the Multi-TV facilities. For Joy News, Marion Toure reporting.
And as a wrap for business, I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi.
All right, so news making rounds in the world of sports. We first of all start in this country, and former Black Stars goalkeeper Abukari Damba says coach Kwesi Appiah used the presence of goalkeeper Richard Kinsing to get the best out of Orlando Pirates shortstopper Fatal Dawda in yesterday's World Cup playoff against Egypt. Ahead of the game, the Stars technical team received constant bashing for calling up Richard Kinsing, who was returning to the Black Stars after 2 years. Fatal Dawda, however, was given the nod, and Abukari Damba says coach Appiah used Kinsing's presence to good effect, but insists Dawda must improve.
It wasn't bad, even though he had some few issues with the long balls and crosses here and there. But he didn't play in isolation. He had a back four who really covered his back. We had the
All right, now the Egypt Football Association has confirmed head coach Bob Bradley will see the remainder of his contract. Reports will arrive of his imminent departure after a heavy loss to Ghana, but the FA say otherwise. after his side 6-1 defeat by Ghana in yesterday's World Cup playoff in Kumasi. Reports have suggested the American will be asked to resign following the first leg loss that all but ends Egypt's hopes of qualifying for Brazil. But Egypt would have to pay Bradley about $366,000 in compensation, and the Egypt's Football Association say it's not logical to sack him and pay a big fine for the last match of his contract. The Pharaohs went into Tuesday's game with a 100% record in qualifying, but they were handed a crushing defeat by the Black Stars that Bradley admitted has made it nearly impossible to overturn in the 19th November second leg in Cairo. The humiliating result has led to anger among some Egyptian sport fans, and the police are taking precautions to prevent them from reaching the airport where the Egyptian players are set to return home. In the past 2 days, the police and army have clashed with fans group Ahli Ultras, who tried to attack the Ahli handball team after they were beating to the gold medal in the Champions Handball League by a Tunisian side. Right now, Ethiopia Football Association say they will investigate Nigeria's claim of fans attack after they run away with a first leg 2-1 win over them in the World Cup playoff in Addis Ababa on Sunday. Nigeria have reportedly written to the World Football's governing body, FIFA. The association says it will investigate Nigeria's claim fans attacked their team bus after the country's World Cup playoff in Addis Ababa on Sunday. Nigeria said midfielder Nosa Ikeibo was injured when the bus windows were shattered as the team left the stadium after the 2-1 win, and they have reported the incident to FIFA. Newly elected Ethiopian FA President Junidin Basha said he saw reports that Nigeria's bus was attacked and the player was injured and will work with security forces to investigate what has actually happened and hopefully respond soon. The two teams will meet in Calabar for the second leg of the playoff on 16th November. Well, that'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Adejunior. Do you have a great evening? Israel will join us with some international news.
Right, so I'm sure you must have been aware now in the last few days or just over the weekend, joining you since Gifty Ando Apia. She won the CNN Multi-Choice African Journalist of the Year Award in the television news bulletin category. She's joined me in the studio. Good evening to you, Gifty.
Good evening to you.
You've been back in Ghana how many days now?
Like 2 days.
Okay, so what's the feeling like? I mean, you're getting all the attention. I mean, I see cameramen swooping all over you, trying to take shots of you. What's the feeling like?
Well, it's a great feeling, but let me say that I was until the Black Stars scored those goals yesterday.
So they took the shine.
They have, which is fine by me.
Okay.
Actually, that's just a whisper. But it's been great.
What is this? I hear that we're coming to the airport to welcome you with a crew, and you said no, you didn't want it. Is attention too much for you?
I don't know, but it was just a feeling. I just didn't want it. I just didn't feel like...
It was overwhelming?
I felt like...
It was becoming too much for you?
And no, it was okay for me that I mean, it was a great feeling for me that I had the award. And for me, that was okay. And I knew I was going to get to talk to you like this, on a platform like this. And I knew I was going to talk on other platforms as well. So I didn't think it was,
such a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how has your life changed since you won the award? I'm sure you're getting a lot of attention. You're going to get a lot more Facebook friend requests.
Well, it's still a virgin period, I'll say, because it's...
I'm not too sure about the virgin. Will you go on?
Yeah, it's still a virgin moment because, it's not
You're still in it?
Yeah, and it's just a few days, so I'm getting to... I do stuff, on radio and on TV as well, and I get some kind of attention, but this is extra. I tell you what, Samson was just posting the pictures from Cape Town, and within like 5 minutes, I had 90 friend requests.
Okay.
And as I speak with you now, I have about 400 friend requests on Facebook. Yeah.
Well,
but I want to review them.
That's okay. That's okay.
So, no, but I'm actually going to accept everybody. Just that I just have to take my time and look at this person, and then it's just cool.
I just want to believe that this inspires you and motivates you to want to do more.
Yes, it does. I feel there's weight of expectation on my shoulders. The weight, the expectation to deliver. It's for me. It's a big challenge, I must say, because CNN Awards is no mean title. So for me, it's a lot of, it's a huge challenge for me, yes. But I think I'm up to it, and I'm gonna make it count, really.
Okay, but I must say that we're really proud of
you.
your achievement, and we hope that you're going to win a lot more laurels for yourself and for the station and multimedia in general. Yeah?
So don't worry, keep the friend request coming. I'm just gonna, if I've not accepted your friend request yet, it's just give me some time. I've not been able to sit down and look at
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to get you to help me end the bulletin. So before we go on the bulletin, you give us the you give us the closing
headlines. Okay, so that's it for the bulletin tonight. But our top stories on this are: statistics on road accidents confirm George Walker Bush as one of 4 highways in Accra with the most casualties.
Now let's use this one.
Okay. Now President Mahama urges organized labor to be patient as government takes steps to respond to widespread public agitation over recent increases in utility tariffs. Economic and Organized Crimes Office confirms interrogation of persons indicted in JIDA report. Food and Drugs Authority condemns publication of drugs list, describing it as an attempt to undermine its authority. And on the occasion of World Food Day, government is being asked to prioritize support for small-scale farmers who contribute between 60 and 80% of the country's food stock.
That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel Lai.
I was going to say my name is Israel Lai, but my name is Gifty Andopia, and many thanks for your time.